just did that horrific bombardment of Gaza, and they had the iftar. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to our show. I'll be your host today, Brother Benjamin Shabazz, and we have a very, very exciting guest we want to present to you today. And this is Brother Chaplain, Lieutenant Colonel Khallid M. Shabazz, Ph.D. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How you doing, brother?
Alhamdulillah, doing well.
All right. It's really a great opportunity today to have you on the show and for you to be able to express yourself. And I see you brought some of the things, some of your accolades, et cetera,
Yes.
About your accomplishments as a chaplain. But the main thing is that you're in the military, you're a chaplain in the military, you're a Muslim chaplain in the military.
That's right.
So we want to do everything that we can to accent that.
Sure.
So before we start, we want to open with a dua, so please join me. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. O Allah, creator of all things, Lord of the mighty throne, we ask that you bless us with the many benefits of our sharing and our time spent together. Ameen.
Ameen.
So first of all, my brother, could you tell us your name and your title, so to speak?
Well, my name is Khalid Shabazz. My title is I'm a chaplain in the military, as you've said. I'm a lieutenant colonel, and I'm also have a Ph.D. in higher administration education. So all of those things that you said before is a part of who I am that I use as a resource, but I am the first Muslim division chaplain in the United States Army history.
Alhamdulillah. So when you say division chaplain, how does that differ from just an ordinary chaplain, so to speak?
Well, chaplains have a variety of levels. We start off as captains, and we are in battalions, which are comprised of 500 to 600 people. Once you go to the majors level, which is a field grade officer, that's comprised of sometimes about 5 of those battalions, and you're managing about, say anywhere from about 8,000 people. The division level chaplain, which I'm at now, I'm fortunate by the grace of Allah to be at, you're managing 5 brigades, in my case 7 brigades, and about 7 battalions. So it comprises about 14,000 people. The importance of the division chaplain is you're the spiritual head for 14,000 people, including the command. The division chaplain is chosen. There's only 10, the Army comprises of about 10 divisions. So it's put to the chief of chaplains and his staff, and they choose the division chaplain. It's a job that not everybody is qualified for. So I was fortunate by the grace of Allah to be chosen to be the division chaplain.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Chosen.
Chosen.
Yes, sir. That's really an amazing accomplishment. Brother.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. We all appreciate that. So let me ask you a few questions here. First of all, we want to thank you for sharing your valuable time.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
And sit with us. Can you tell us a little bit about your military history?
My military history, I joined in 1990, just as a regular enlisted man. In the process of joining, I wanted to provide some stability for my family. At that time, I had a wife and 2 kids. I needed some discipline. I was constantly getting in trouble, didn't have a whole lot of guidance, even though older people were all around me. Before going into the military, I was working at Kmart, and I was a janitor at Kmart. Getting ready to go into the military, tell you about the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We had a Muslim who was in Kmart, and everybody thought he was a weird guy. I asked him a couple of questions, and kind of said, okay, no big deal. Went off to the military. Once I got to the military, this young man, I know him now as a Muslim, was in the motor pool, and he was talking about his Islamic beliefs. And to me, I'm said to myself, why am I meeting all these crazy guys, right? So I was a very learned man in Christianity. I went to Jarvis Christian College, grew up, I took catechism and all of those things, was confirmed. So I challenged him to a debate. This is 4 months in as a young enlisted man. I challenged him to a public debate about Islam and Christianity. So the stage was set. He and I had this public debate. He said some things that absolutely shook me to my core, because my understanding from my youth that Jesus was not a part of Islam. Jesus was almost a person that was not even fit to be in Islam. And I thought I had a clear understanding of who Jesus was, peace be upon him. This young man very eloquently laid out who Jesus was in the Quran, the virgin birth, him raising people from the dead, him having all of these divine qualities, but the kicker was, he said, he wasn't God. That resonated with me because it's something that I kind of believed all my life, because there's always been a delineation in the Bible between God and Jesus, from my understanding. So after then, I went back to my room, totally despondent, totally confused, and I decided for myself at that point to find this book that they were talking about, the Quran. Never heard of it. I'm a little boy from Louisiana. I never heard of any book called the Quran. So I went in and I did, I had the Bible here and the Quran here, and I just did 9 hours a day, just comparing and contrasting. And through my research, I found out that my beliefs were consistent with the Quran, because I was focusing specifically on Christ. That was the challenge for me. So once I found that those things were congruent with me, 2 years later, then I accepted Islam. And so going now into the military aspect, it gave me focus, it gave me vision, it gave me purpose, because now I was just not Michael Barnes. I was coming into a growth of, I want to help people understand who they are. And so I was sitting on my track. I was a field artillery man by trade, and I was crying because the commander wouldn't let me go to Friday service. I was crying, and the chaplain came by, and honestly, I said to myself, God, whoever you are, Allah, whoever you are, please don't let the chaplain come over here. I got enough problems in my life. I don't want to see the chaplain. So the chaplain came over and he said, I heard about you. I heard that you're the young man who converted to Islam. And I was anticipating him to try to convert me and down me and debase me. He said, what a wonderful thing. He said, we just received our first Muslim chaplain on active duty, 1993, Abdul Rashid Muhammad. He said, you should help people like yourself. Imam, I'm telling you, the bells, the whistles, and everything he said resonated in my soul. Everything that he said resonated with me, and I knew my purpose. I knew my mission. I knew what I needed to do. And so for the next whatever amount of years, I was trying to find a way to get the educational level and to find a way to come back and be a chaplain in the military. And so that's how I got to become a chaplain in the military.
Allah sent his angel through that chaplain, didn't he?
Alhamdulillah, yes he did.
Talk straight to you.
Yes he did. You know, the Quran says in Surah 5 that that there are some Christians who are devout and learning, and when they hear the message, they say, write me down with those who believe. That man to me was a believer. Like the Quran states, he aided me to get to where I am today.
And you know that chaplain that you mentioned, Brother Abdul Rashid Muhammad, have you ever met him?
I have met him twice.
Yeah, he used to be out here.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, good brother.
Yes, he is.
Very good brother. I think he's retired now.
He's retired.
Yeah.
He's retired. He is actually the endorser for ISNA. So he is my endorser.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's a beautiful story, brother. And I mean, it's almost like we talking about a movie you interviewing for. But that was real life.
Yes, real life.
Real life.
It's real life.
Okay, now, what I'm really happy about, amongst other things, is your education level. So could you tell us a little bit about your education?
Well, it's another really profound story as I look back and see where Allah has guided me to become a man of education. I go around the Army and around the United States to speaking engagements, and people are quite surprised to see my educational level with 2 doctorate degrees and 4 master's degrees. But what they don't know is what I tell them, because I like to be transparent about it. You know, I was in special education in the 8th grade. I failed the 9th grade, just very poor self-esteem, because as a young child, I was molested at 10 years old. So very poor self-perception of myself. I got all the way to the 12th grade, and because of my physical prowess playing basketball, I made it to the 12th grade, but I failed 12th grade English, so I had to go to summer school, so I didn't even graduate with my class. I went to college on a basketball scholarship. When I got there, I was still struggling with identity. I was still struggling with self-perception. Didn't kind of understand how people saw me. I always thought people saw the molestation. I always thought people saw me as an inferior person. So struggled through school, got thrown out of college in my senior year for fighting. A young man shot me in my back and beat me with a shovel. So I was thrown out of college. It was when I was in Louisiana, when I told you I was working at Kmart. I met this young guy, and he had the book, you know, Malcolm X, the biography. Hadn't paid any attention to it, kept it in my mind. When I got to the military and I had this debate with this young man, now I was ready for Malcolm's book. And so when I got a taste of this man who didn't have a formal education, 8th grade education, he taught himself. Oh, brother, another transformative moment for me. I said, if this man with an 8th grade education has taught himself to be one of the most dynamic speakers and influential people in the world, well, so can I. So if you notice the name Shabazz, I took my name after Malcolm. And so once I had read that, I said, I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to be in somebody's school until I die. And so that's what I did. I enrolled in college. I eventually got my bachelor's degree. I enrolled in a master's program where I took remedial classes. Didn't care about the embarrassment. Didn't care what people said. So you have to take 2 remedial classes to show that you can do master's work. Took those classes. passed them with a B, 2 Bs, and then I went on to get my first master's degree. That was not sufficient for me. I still felt that I had wasted by this time I was 28 years old, I felt I had wasted 28 years. And so I found another school through the GI Bill. They paid for it free. I found another school, and I went to get another master's degree. I made in a master's program, you need at least a 3.0. So I made a 3.0. The minimal level you can for a master's degree. Felt absolutely horrible, still felt that I wasn't sufficient. And then I said, I got to find another school to go to. So honestly, I just kept finding places that would aid in my development. And so by this time, I went to the School of Islamic Social Sciences. I was in the Chaplain's program for my another additional master's degree. And all of the brothers there, honestly, they were so smart, and I felt that I wasn't equipped to be there. And so I worked hard, and I worked 9, 10 hours a day just to keep up with those guys. And so again, a lot is God, because again, I managed to get out of that school with a 3.0, the minimum standards. And so because the insecurity inside of myself, I said, that's not good enough. And so once I finished there, did a couple of years break, I enrolled in a Ph.D. program. And so it was there that I began to become aware, honestly, of who I was, who I am, and start to get a sense of myself to say, I belong here. This was my destiny. And had I not had those insecurities, had I not had those moments, I probably wouldn't have never been in this PhD program. And so it was there that I started to find myself and research and become, I feel that I was adequate enough. And so I finished the PhD program there. And for my last master's degree out of Claremont University, it was a young brother. He's the dean. He saw my story on Google, and he offered me a free master's degree. And so I went there, and last April I graduated with my 4th master's degree.
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah. Well, let's keep it rolling. Let's talk about your Islamic education.
Oh, Islamic education is phenomenal. I had an opportunity, like I said before, to go to School of Islamic Social Sciences. One of the things that interesting story. So the first day of school, we got there, and the Sheikh Taha, he's an Islamic scholar out of Iraq, and he said, we have 3 brains. He said, we have a Jewish brain that costs $1 million. He said, we have a Christian brain that costs $10. And we have a Muslim brain that is $1 million. And all of the brothers were like, yes, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, the Muslim brain costs the most. He said, the reason the Muslim brain costs the most is because it has not been used. I said, wow. Wow. And I remember when he said that, it's a verse, it's ayat in the Quran that says, who will study this religion, how it should be studied? And his next statement again was, Muslims have not studied this religion. I challenge you Muslims to study the religion and be imams who are transformational as juxtaposed to transactional, who are going by the status quo. And so when he said that, I tell you, again, for me, I mean, Allah is so good. I wanted to study every verse. I wanted to break down every Arabic word, and that's what I did for about three years. In the midst of that, the school sent me to the University of Jordan to study Arabic, to get a foundational principles of Arabic. So I went to Jordan, studied Arabic for 2 years, after which I went to Morocco for 6 months to study how to recite the Quran. So my Islamic education has been absolutely wonderful. It's been a godsend. I couldn't have asked for a better education because Dr. Taha Al-Waini was a teacher. I remember him saying something else, and then I'll close here. He says in the ayat in the Quran, it says, "Is the man who thinks and the man who doesn't?" He says, "Are they alike? By no means. The man that does not think is like an animal, or even less." He said the Quran is a book for thinkers, not people who don't want to think. So my Islamic education, not only, it didn't stop there. I continually read and research and challenge the status quo of traditions. And coincidentally, that's what my one of the books that I've written is the confrontation between tradition and faith, a converged concern. And I have laid out some of those principles on how the Muslims have turned away, essentially, from what we have in front of us, which is the most important guidance, which is the Quran. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was made to say in Surah 25 and 30, "My people have forsaken this Quran." And this is a statement that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he's going to say on Yom Kiyyamah, on the day of judging. My people have forsaken this Quran. And it was the tragedy of the community that came before us. They went outside of what their book was teaching. And so the Muslims of today, this is what the Sheikh was saying. We need to get back into the Quran and understand its principles and its precepts because it has universal values that we all can learn from.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, that was great motivation.
That's my job.
Great motivation. Now, I'm looking at the time, it says 22 minutes. So that means we have about 5 or 6 minutes left.
Yes.
So in that 5 or 6 minutes, I would like to, from the Al-Islam Center, present you
Oh, thank you.
with some more gifts.
MashaAllah.
This is a tape by Imam Muhammad, W.D. Muhammad, called The History of Gog and Magog, part 1 and 2. It's a CD, so you can pop that right in your car.
MashaAllah, thank you. Thank you.
And also, we have something here that is really very special to us because it is the pen, a lapel pen, that has, I don't know if we can see that, get a view of that in the camera. Can we get a close-up of that in the camera? Okay, I guess they're working on it. Can we get a close-up of this in the camera? If you can, just go right to it. But it is, on one side is the Quran, which is the Quran, pages laid open, and the gold emanating from it, denoting wisdom. And the other side, the American flag.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and this is a flag that Imam Muhammad came up with. He said he got the idea from his father, Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So when I wear this, you know, people will look at the American side and they say, "What's that over there?" I say, "That's the Quran."
Yes.
He said, "I say, I'm an American Muslim."
Absolutely.
Or I can say Muslim American,
That's
whichever
right.
I want to say.
That's right.
But so anyway, we want to present this to you.
Thank you so much, Brother Imam.
And
Thank you so much.
okay, yes, sir. It's our pleasure, brother.
Yes.
So the issue here is that you have overcome not only personal battles, but you have overcome the stigma of an African American man. You know how they used to say, "Oh, you think you're a white boy,"
Yes.
or you know, or you talk, "Why are you talking like that?" and all that kind of foolishness.
That's correct.
And you know what they used to say: if you want to keep a secret from a black man, put it in the book.
That's right. Yes.
So you have uncovered all the secrets.
Alhamdulillah.
Let's talk about the stove.
The stove, yes.
Let me hand this to you.
So another thing about the military is full of traditions, and so this stove is put upon the neck of, it's a metaphoric simile that spiritual leadership is being changed from one person to another. The last division chaplain, handed this to the commander, signifies he's given up the leadership. And the commander put this stole around my neck, signifying that I am now the spiritual leader for the troops in his formation. So this is only done at the division level and the corps level, and that's why it was so significant, me being the division chaplain, because it's never had a Muslim to be the spiritual head of a division. And
So put that on. Put that on.
Yes.
Let's see how it looks.
okay. Yes.
Okay, so tell us what some of these symbols.
And so these symbols are the 7th Infantry Division, in which I am a part of. And of course, at the bottom here, this is the eagle with the 13 stars here with the flag on it. So I'm not only the 7th Infantry Division chaplain, I also represent the military, which I'm a part of.
Okay, are there any more symbols on
No,
it?
sir, this is just it's dual on both sides.
What about the back? It seemed like
The
I
back,
saw-
no, the back
I
is
saw- yeah,
a
thank you.
Shabazzism.
Yes.
Because I wanted to ensure that my symbol, saying who I was on this stole. Again, it's something I can do because I'm the first. So
Right.
has never been an Islamic chaplain. So I put my symbol on the back there to ensure that people understand that I'm the Islamic chaplain.
Right. So even on your uniform, I think on your collar you have the crescent, right?
Yes, on my collar I have the crescent moon, and I brought my hat here to show for the Christian soldiers. They have the cross.
Right.
For the Jewish soldiers, they have the Jewish chaplains. They have the Star of David and the tablet, and for the imams, we have the crescent moon.
Why don't you put that on?
Okay. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. That is something I wear every day, and it identifies me to the soldiers as the Muslim chaplain. Great opportunity to talk to soldiers, and I try to kind of lessen the impact. So they always say, "Hey, sir, what is that on your hat? I've never seen that before." So I tell them, "Hey, I work for NASA. I'm an astronaut." You know, so it's an icebreaker that allows them to see that I'm just a normal, regular person. Once we break the ice there, then I have an opportunity to help you because it was a Christian chaplain who came to me to help me in my time of need. And I want to be, and I want to carry on his legacy of helping people in their time of need, no matter what their faith is, no matter what their denomination is. My job is to help people be stronger than when they met me.
Alhamdulillah. What a great story. So I'm told that we're going to wrap this up.
Okay.
So Brother Khallid, Brother Lieutenant Colonel, Dr.
Thank you.
Imam, Chaplain, Khallid Shabazz,
Thank
it was a great pleasure.
My pleasure, brother.
So
My
I
pleasure.
have to ask you one question.
Yes.
Would you come back and do another show with us?
Oh, please. I would absolutely love to.
Well, there it is.
Absolutely love to.
There it is. Let's close out with a quick dua.
Yes.
And I'm going to close out with the same one we opened with.
Okay.
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. O Allah, creator of all things, Lord of the mighty throne, we ask that you bless us with the many benefits of sharing and our time spent together. Ameen.
Ameen.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much for inviting me out.
Oh, man. I hadn't had no
Get-
choice. I had
Get
no
us to
choice.
get us to my grandkids.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. There's so much beauty and your mind unfolds.
Yes.
And you see the world from a world perspective.
Yes, sir.
All human beings being alike.
That's right.